their Cordoba creator of the Leicester equaliser. El Khanous, how much room does he have here? El Khanous going for goal, and he finds it as well. What a turnaround here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
4 minutes, Leicester have soaked up so much pressure. Fatawi jinking feet to get beyond his man, and the header from Jamie Vardy makes it 2.
Wood should score. Woodward's Knockout. Yes! Yes! Eric Knockout has done it.
Tielemans lining one up. What a goal! What a brilliant goal by Yuri Tielemans! And the Leicester City fans go absolutely potty.
Ball in behind Damian Vardy. It's 11. It's heaven for Jamie Vardy. Hold the back page. Hold the front page. A Leicester player has smashed the record.
Good morning, Foxes, and welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses. And for the first time, maybe even this year, it is a good morning. Leicester City won a game, scored 2 goals, kept a clean sheet. Jamie Vardy scored, and we saw some of our young, exciting talent. Wake me up, it must be a dream. And that's why Lox isn't here. I think he got so carried away, he had to be taken to the psychiatric unit to recover. But he will be back on Monday for the call-in show. Morning, everyone. Let's see how we're all doing. Kate, morning. How are you?
Morning. Yeah, good. Thank you. 2 goals and a clean sheet. What a dream. It is literally a dream.
How about you, Manny? How's things going?
Feel better now, knowing that, you know, if this is the kind of stuff we're going to face next season, at least we'll get some wins under our belt, score some goals, and actually start to enjoy our football a little bit again. So all good.
Absolutely. I would be saying good morning to Luke, but it's probably good afternoon. So afternoon to you, Luke.
Good afternoon, mate. I'm feeling good. I'm enjoying the win. It's really nice to have something positive to talk about. I'm sick of coming on here and moaning and complaining about the same thing. So let's be positive for once. It's quite nice.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, let's start then with yesterday. We actually got a win. Manny, yeah, talk to me. We don't see us win too often. So we beat what will literally be one of our rivals tomorrow. What did you think of the game and what are you feeling for next season?
Well, first thing, we scored at home. It's been since December the 8th. I think if we didn't score yesterday, it would have been the longest run in top 4 division history at home.
Really?
So, yeah, I think so. So we got the goal. And of course, who do we want to get the goal? That man, 199, 1 to go. The fairy tale is set up. But there were some other signs in Bilal yesterday. I mean, it shows that if we somehow retain him, which I don't think we will, but if we somehow did, he would absolutely destroy the Championship. He'd rip up that league. Controlling games, effort, beating people, creative, decent end product with crosses. And then, well, I'm sure we're going to come on to it. I know we will do, but to see the talent of someone like Jeremy Monga come on the pitch, at least we have something positive to talk about this morning, huh?
Absolutely. Well, let's go to you, Kate. You were actually at the ground. I mean, you put up with such shite, let's be honest with you, for the entire year. Talk to me about what the atmosphere was like that. Give us the banter and do maybe comment on the fact that the director's box did seem strangely empty if you were watching the TV.
Yeah, the director's box was empty. I thought the game was pretty poor, to be honest. I thought it was 2 poor sides who weren't particularly but obviously we had some highlights with Jamie Vardy's blowing the whistle, which was awesome. Glad to see there's still life in the old dog in that regard, and then a really nicely taken finish from him as well. So that lifted the crowd a lot. There was Jamie Vardy's having a party chance for a bit. Southampton fans were in full voice the whole game. I don't know if you could hear it, but obviously they took Fernandes off, which was greeted with so many boos, like really loud boos from their fans.
Really?
Don't know what you're doing, chanted at their manager. And then they sang Fernandez's song, which I think is our Ndidi song about he'll take the ball from you. They sang that for the whole of the rest of the match after he'd been substituted. They did not stop. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, it was good to see us keep a clean sheet. I forgot what one of those looked like. And we just took our chances for once. I don't think we had anything other than that potentially, but we took our chances for once, which was great to see.
Absolutely. Luke, what did you make of the game overall and what did you think of Southampton?
I thought they were pretty dire, to be honest with you. Like, I don't blame their fans. It's their third manager this season. He's obviously, they all now claim that Russell Martin was the best out of the three and he's the longest gone. And we're now potentially looking at him, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, which frightens me a bit. But I thought the game was much better, much positive. The players all looked a lot more confident. They all looked like they wanted to receive the ball rather than, panic and play it back because, so I think it's really good. Let's see what we can do the rest of the season, and let's try and hopefully get a realistic idea of what we may or may not look like next season and who's willing to stay.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Let's get on to Russell Martin right now. I mean, I think you're right to say. I mean, I thought, how was Southampton so bad? You would have thought that they're still on the record tally for lowest points along with Derby. This was the one game you'd think they'd have a great chance of winning. They were going to look pretty poor. So some of the comments that have come up here, I mean, some people are saying, it might be controversial to start with this, but I think we keep Ruud for at least the first 10 games next season. He hasn't been given a window and the players are truly hopeless, no matter the manager. So do you have any sort of opinion on that, Manny? Or do you think, no, one swallow does not make a summer?
I can see what is being said there in that, look, if Ruud was a manager and this was the likelihood of how games might go next season, for example. Remember, Southampton are likely to also be one of the better teams in that league next season. And, we put them away pretty easily. So you would think that Ruud could conceivably do a good job in the Championship. I think it's that almost that's reflective on the Championship itself rather than necessarily Ruud as a manager, in that we are way better than most of the Championship, but we're also way short of the Premier League. We're in that halfway house in between the two. But I don't like the thought of, going in there and thinking we'll give him 10 games, because you end up in a Cooper situation. You're going to have him help you with transfer policy over the summer. He'll be influencing it. So he's going to mould the team as he likes it. Then what if it starts bad? If we get 2 or 3 bad results, it's not going to take long for it to turn against him next season. Maybe the first game or two will, if he wins, then he gets a stay of execution. But the next manager ends up with Ruud's players again. I think Ruud's had a long time to deal with this team, and despite that, and despite Jordan Ayew scoring, for example, yesterday, I think the team selections have just been horrific, consistently horrific, and there's not been adequate change. There's not been a recognition of what the issues were. So I'm not super confident in him being our longer-term manager. Having said that, if he stayed with the job, say for financial reasons, I do think he'd still get us top 6, if not better, next season.
Yeah. Do you think it actually even matters in the Championship who your manager is? Just because if you look at the top 3 right now, it's Daniel Farke, Scott Parker, and Chris Wilder. Those are the top 3 managers of the teams. I'll come to you on that, Luke. What, you got an opinion, or do you think it's something got to change? Because we'll come to it a bit later, but I mean, by the end, there were a lot of young players playing for Leicester there at the end.
I'm glad you came to me this. So first of all, I agree with Manny that the team selection is what's irritated me the most about Ruud van Nistelrooy the entire season and not playing youth. If we weren't confirmed relegated, would we have seen the likes of Monga, Evans and stuff come off the bench? I doubt it, to be honest with you. But then again, you can make the argument there was no need because we were not getting spanked week in, week out. The other thing to take onto it is that those 3 managers you just mentioned have a Championship experience. Ruud van Nistelrooy does not. He's not used to the grinder that is the Championship, playing 2 games a week and dealing with the absolute brutality that it is the fixture of the Championship. So can he deal with that? Can he handle the pressure? I don't think so. We've already seen him throw people under the bus and press and blame other people. If we would win every single game for the rest of the season from here on out or close to it, and he's playing the likes of Monga and Evans, and we're starting to see the youth, starting to be integrated into the team, then yes, I will potentially be open to it. But for now, I'm still very, very apprehensive at the idea of him being here next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I come to you on that lastly, Kate. I mean, it was very noticeable. There's a lot of empty seats in the ground from the TV. And Richard said here as well that before the team was read out before the game, FaZe, Cody, IE all being booed when they're announced. I have to say, for me as well, even though IE scored, I do think he should have had the balls to have picked Jeremy Monga from the start, given it was a dead rubber game. What is the feeling in the ground of Ruud? I guess it's just like the never-ending nightmare.
Yeah, it's a bit like the never-ending nightmare. There's just quite a lot of apathy now. There was a lot of, like you say, boos and what the hell when you saw the team sheet. Because I think I said on the chat yesterday, I'm not sure what the question is if IE is your solution. I think he's not even playing him in position. We've got kids on the bench waiting to be tried. Even in isolation, that centre-back performance against Wolves last week, how are you not changing it just to try something? Like, even if a Coley's not staying, he's probably the only one with any value. So play him, put him in the shop window a bit more. Coley's got no value. Fast, God only knows. So some of the selections are just bewildering, and that was no different yesterday. Even leaving it really late to make some of the changes. Like even with Golding coming on, I mean, he had to wait a good few minutes because the ball didn't run out of play, but he got like 90 seconds. What's the point? What is the point? It's just like a token gesture for the kid. And, you know, I'd like to have seen Monga given at least a half yesterday. I don't really know why keeps pushing away with players like Ayew right now, and it's time to try some fresh blood, really.
Absolutely. Well, we'll come on to the young talents in just a bit, but Manny mentioned him earlier. But Luke, why don't you talk to me about Bilal El Khanous? He got our sort of man of the match when we did the sort of mini match ratings at the end. Absolutely outstanding. I do think he's really got to work on his end product. We have a Moroccan fan who's in the chat quite a lot. He does say he can't aim for toffee, is maybe the polite way of saying it. But his all-round game was good, wasn't it? Although I think we've probably got maybe 3 games maximum left of seeing Bilal play, haven't we?
Unfortunately, I think we do. Like, I would love to keep him. I think he would smash it, possibly even more than Keenan Dewsbury Hall. Maybe not so much. Keenan was a little bit more established, with a little bit more experience. But in my opinion, if he was to stay for a season or even potentially until January, it would only do him a world of good. He would just be the absolute boss of the championship, and he would definitely most likely be gone the subsequent season, in my opinion. But should he leave, I'm hoping that a manager or someone at Leicester can sit him down and be like, look, let's say Brighton comes in for him or someone like that. Look, you can get this move, but you might be competing for a spot. We can't guarantee that you're going to be getting 90 minutes of football over there. Here at Leicester City, you will be our main man like you have been this season. We think you're going to develop and only get better. And if we don't come up then the following season, then sure, we'll find you a move. But I think that's just living in a perfect world, to be honest with you. But hey, one can only hope.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, there's a good comment here that if we keep allowing the championship, he could be exactly how Adel Taarabt was that season for QPR. I think he moved to Benfica after that. But same time, you've got both African Cup of Nations and, more importantly, the World Cup will be at the end of next season. So I'm not sure how playing in the championship is going to help you. Kate, give me your opinion on Bilal. And also another person who doesn't often play in the team, and that was Oliver Skipp. And the reason I want you to sort of comment on both is they both cost the same amount of money. So what is your impression of both of them yesterday?
Bilal, I think I've said before, the jury's still out for me. I think he's been absolutely a highlight this season. He's looks magical with the ball at his feet, but his stats have been really poor. 2 goals, 2 assists. I'm not saying that couldn't have been better with a better team around him, but I think he's been the standout because everybody around him has been so poor. But I think he'll stay another year with us. That's my gut feeling, because I can't see us getting the money that we would want to let him go necessarily. Oliver Skipp, look, he's not covered himself in glory in the times that he's played, but I don't feel like he's had a run of games properly either.
Yeah.
One could definitely argue that. So yeah, I mean, he came in, he didn't set the world on fire. I didn't think the midfield was great at all yesterday, but you know, if he doesn't play regularly, he's going to struggle to justify that price tag. So that was one of the other substitutions that was really disappointing yesterday. Seeing Samare come on in the closing minutes, why? What do you need to see from Samare? Mind up about him now. Like it was just very frustrating. But I'm glad Skipp got a go yesterday, and I'd like to see him play a bit more to really see whether we've got any value there or not, really.
Absolutely. Well, let me come to Oliver Skipp's biggest fan, as we all know, which is Manny. What did you make of him? I mean, you obviously want him in the shop window, so what did you make of him? Oh, you're muted.
People have been freaking him out about having his audio not loud enough. There we go.
I've been trying to sort my microphone out in the background. Can you hear me now clearly?
It's still quiet, to be honest with you.
Still quiet. Okay, I'll try and get a bit louder. Look, Oliver Skipp, he's a decent enough player. Okay, he's solid in the championship. He'll do a job in the championship that will probably be top 6 level. He's not going to excite you with anything magic. He's not going to, get your bum off your seat because he'll do something magic in midfield. But we are paying him a lot of money, and he still has, on paper, with the 4 years left on his deal, some monetary worth. My contention is when you combine the salary that you'll be paying him in the championship, plus what you could potentially get for him. So it's the way that I would look at it is Skipp will do a job. But if I sell Skipp and save that money, I have, let's say, £15 million to play with. Maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but let's say 12 to £15 million to play with, plus 30 to 40 grand on my wage bill that I could now spend. Can I go out there and find myself someone with a higher ceiling level who will do equally as good a job as Skip, or a better job? But then, once we get promoted in the Premier League, I know that this guy has the potential to actually keep us up. We know that if we get to the Premier League, Skip's going to be a problem again. So why just delay this problem? He's never going to be your ultimate answer. So whilst he retains some value, I would rather cash in. Remember, we do have to sell players. We just spoke about Bilal. I would love to sell all the other dead wood on our books in an ideal world so that we could keep Bilal. You know, we're going to sell Bilal for 30, 35, maybe a push 40 if we're lucky. But Skip, we could still get 15. We could sell McAteer for 10, sell Luke Thomas for 5. There's 30 gone. You see, I would rather do it that way.
I'm not sure we'll get more than the 10 million that Tony says for Skip. How we paid so much, not entirely sure. But I tell you what, a good comment here. So from Greg here, one thing many will forget is the starting lineup will look very, very different next season. As much as it was a good win, both sides will have different looks next season when we play Saints again, which is a fair point. So this leads me nicely, I think, into what for me was actually the highlight of the game, and that was at the end. Because at the end, we had Jakub Stolarczyk, we had Luke Thomas, we had Jeremy Monga, we had Jake Evans, Michael Golding came on, and it felt like a sort of new season in a TV show. Do you know, sort of like Game of Thrones when they've killed half the characters, so the next season they've got to introduce an entirely new, spoilers, entirely new sort of set of people to do. So what do we make of them? And let's get straight into the main man who I think was the most exciting, which was Jeremy Monga. So I think this is maybe his third or fourth appearance. Lots of comments, do get them in on chat, and sort of varying things here. So some people are saying we need to turn the heat down on Monga. He's a 15-year-old kid. We want him to be Yamal, but he might be bang average. I've seen nothing exciting yet. Rude is trying to protect the young players. We said that, and some people saying Monga isn't physically ready yet. The lad's 15, bring him in slowly. So I tell you what, let's actually come to you first, Kate, because you're in the ground. So when Jeremy Monga comes on, what's the feeling? Are people getting off their seats? It did seem to me like as he grew into the game, actually, that the crowd were really starting to get behind him. And it's sort of like I agree that he started quite sheepish, but by the end, he always had a little bit of arrogance to him. So talk to me, bird's eye view. What have you made of his appearances so far for Leicester?
Him coming on, I think people just felt it was a bit late, and not because people think he's going to run the show or be absolutely amazing. It was just like, how are you not getting in? Like, who's holding your position from you having a go and being subbed in a dead rubber match? Like, why isn't he just being given a longer period of time to play? So yeah, there was kind of a finally when he came on, like, you know, why wasn't he brought on half an hour ago? But then I think, if I'm honest, there was always loads of excitement about him because everybody wants him to do well, and he hasn't done anything to have negative fan views against him because he's only had a fraction of time to play. But for me, I thought he just settled into the game nicely. He didn't look out of his depth. I wouldn't say he looked supersonic either. I just thought he did a steady performance, and you know, for a 15-year-old, that's awesome, really, isn't it?
Yeah. What did you make of him, Luke? Were you getting excited, getting Fatawu vibes? I mean, because the one I liken it to, do you remember when Fatawu first came into the team? I think he had a 10 or 15-minute cameo. I'm trying to remember what game it was. Was it Huddersfield or Cardiff? And you know what I mean? Like, even in the first 10 minutes, they ended up hitting the post, and like he looked like crazy, like he was trying to beat like 3 men in the corner when it was totally the wrong decision. But at the same time, you could see immediately that it was like a bit of a live wire. So I'm not saying Jerry Monga obviously had that about him, but what are your initial thoughts? Because this was the biggest amount that we saw of him yet.
I think he's gotten a little bit more confident every time, and he's willing to take on his man, which is like what we've been sorely needing. We haven't seen enough of Fatawu, obviously, because of his injury, and enough of Mavididi due to selection. So we haven't had wingers all season that have been willing to take on their fullbacks. He was getting doubled up on, and he's 15 years old. I thought he looked proper solid for a 15-year-old. I disagree, but everyone's allowed their opinion. The comments that you start, I disagree of all of them. I thought he looked pretty physical for a 15-year-old. He was skinning blokes. He was getting through people. He was dribbling around people. I thought he looked excellent. He looked decent on the ball in the limited time we've seen him as well. I think there's no reason why he should not be starting next week. I think he's well and truly earned it. And if he does start and he has a good game, then I will give Ruud van Nistelrooy his due credit because he's slowly integrated into the team. If he does get a start, then that's the same thing I want to say. I think I said this last stream last night. I want to see Evans get a bit more time. I want to see Golden get a bit more time. But we all know that the ceiling is biggest for Jeremy Monga. So I think that, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Yamal, but he 100% should be starting the next game.
Manny, you're the master of fast twitch fibers, so you give me the definitive response. What did you make of Jeremy Monger yesterday?
The age is just a number. Forget about the age. Just judge on what you see on the pitch. Does he actually look physically out of place? Does he look like it's men against boys? Actually, not at all. Look the other way around. And I made this contention yesterday. It's not even a contention. It's just a fact. In modern day sport, the average age of the absolute elite is getting younger and younger and younger. If I ask you to think about the top 10 players in the world, I'd guess majority of them are going to be under 25 at the moment. And this kid was brilliant. The first time he got the ball, he went on the outside, beat his fullback easily, won a corner as the cross got deflected out. The second time, he dropped a shoulder, beat a player.
Yeah, that was nice.
For fun. It was just so smooth and so easy. But it wasn't actually the attacking content that really impressed me, because we can see that he's got that ability. We've seen the clips. What I really loved was just the reason that I fell in love with Fatawu. It's the defensive work. He was actually he was tracking back. He was staying in shape. He was running his man. I saw him put a physical challenge in to win a ball. I was like, that's got a bit of a bit of oomph in that challenge too. So physically, he looks quite stocky, as in he's muscly. He looks pretty well developed. He doesn't look short of confidence. I think all this stuff, this is the perfect time to play this kid and give him Premier League experience. There's no pressure. Nobody expects anything. We want him to stay with us. You know, what's all this keep him on the bench stuff? Don't play him. If we do that, we'll lose him. Our best chance of keeping him is doing what he wants. And you tell me there's a 15-year-old kid that doesn't want to play in the Premier League if he can. Of course he wants to play. So I'm going to go completely overboard about this kid. I've already seen enough to think we've got a special talent. We had a 14-year-old scoring 100 in the IPL the other day. We had an 18-year-old in Antonelli doing excellently in the sprint qualifying and yesterday. Young is the way forward. We saw Lamine Yamal last week at 17, and we saw what he did at 16. Get this notion of 15, 16, 17. I mean, one 15-year-old is different to the next 15-year-old anyway. You know, one could be small, one could be nice and developed. What I see on the pitch is a guy who's ready to play in this team today. He's better than every other option that we have currently on that, since Fatawi was injured. Play this boy. In fact, I would go a bit crazy. I think Bilal is going to go in the summer. I'm convinced of that. And so I would like to see him play in the 10 slot. I think the boy's got 2 feet. He's electric. He can create. He can beat a man. Shooting, I've seen some good clips in the youth stuff. But I go the other way. I think, forget it. Let's just go for it. You know, we've got nothing to lose here.
Yeah, it's funny, actually, if Bilal maybe had played him in, he could even have scored. Although I think fair play, you look at that opportunity, that was just a shanked shot from Bilal. Probably should have scored himself there. Yeah, I've got to say, I've spent a lot of time actually coaching players of around that age group. I think he looks pretty good to me, Jeremy Monger. Obviously, they have to really need to see him in training and see what he's doing. But his off-the-ball work, he was strong. He was up against Ryan Manning, who's like an experienced pro, more of a championship player than a Premier League player. But I thought he was winning that duel. I liked his positioning. And in that sort of 3-on-1 counter-attack where he had Vardy on the left, Monger on the right, and Bilal in the middle, he supported the attack. He got up there. So I think that's a little preview of what we'll see next season. And, you know, if you have him and Fatawu battling for a place, it will just drive them both to improve position. So that's exciting. Now, someone else I want to come on to. And
sorry, Neil, just putting that point. Can I just make one little point about Monger and stuff? Like, we've been watching a lot of rubbish this season. Yeah, none of us have been excited. None of us get joy when Bilal gets the ball. You're in your head. You're like, oh, Bilal's got the ball. Maybe he can create something. You already have that in your head. When Fatawu gets the ball, you have it like, oh, maybe he's going to beat his man. Maybe he's going to do something. When Monger gets the ball, when we're doing the watch along, we're all like, go on, Jeremy, go on. It's anticipation of what the guy might do is exciting in itself. So he gives you that feeling in your stomach already. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I was saying, Bilal actually did that really tasty nutmeg, didn't he, on one of the Southampton players and opened it up for the shot. That was good. Okay, another player that I want to talk about, and this is one of the most frustrating parts of the game. So right at the very end, we have this counter-attacking opportunity, and it's Luke's favourite player, Patson Daka, comes running onto it. And all he had to do was square it to Jake Evans. And Jake Evans finally, instead of getting 10 seconds and not being able to touch the ball, that was reserved for Michael Golding this time around. Talk to me. Obviously, there's not much we can say about Jake Evans, but what did you make of that moment as well? Like, you know, I keep trying to sort of bang on that, like, we don't have many strikers at the club. we probably will have Patson Daka as our striker up front next season. But let me get that Aussie rage out in the afternoon. What did you make of Patson Daka and Jake Evans?
I don't want to see Patson Daka even on the bench again. I don't want to see him in Leicester colours. I don't want to see anything Leicester related anywhere near that complete stupid waste of money idiot donkey. I hate him so much. I hate his fans. Do you know how many years I went on before I started doing? Let me just quickly give a bit of context here so everyone can understand my complete rage and hatred of this guy. If you go on anything Facebook related and social media, there is about 100,000 deluded, stupid Zambian fans on there that keep on saying we deserve to lose because he's not playing. We're not doing this right. And then the first excuse we used to have 2 seasons ago was, oh, he needs Kelechi Iheanacho to play good. He played really good in the Spartak game because he had Kelechi feeding him balls. Everything about this guy is a waste of money, waste of time. Biggest flop signing ever. Maybe I reckon he's worse than Slimani. I don't want it. There's a waste of time. I know we got a seriously bad striker problem next season. I don't want him here next season. I don't want him shanking balls. He's got the touch of an absolute donkey. He's all pace, chasing chickens, does absolutely nothing. Bad on the ball. A stiff breeze would knock him over. How much time have you got? How much do you want me to keep ranting about him? I hate him. I want him nowhere near the squad again. I know hate's a strong word, and I mean it. He is absolute garbage. I'm sure everyone's like, oh, he's a nice guy. Yeah, talk to me about how much of a nice guy you think he is after watching that Leeds game last season. Come on, he's a fucking idiot.
Well, I'm a bit surprised that Luke held back so much there on his opinion of Patson Daka. But I mean, this early in the morning, I can give him a pass for that. What did you make of that, Kate? And yeah, I really wish that one of those sort of young players had managed to get a goal. I think it'd be so good for the confidence of the team. Talking about Patson Daka and Jake Evans from the little that you saw of him.
Patson Daka just always looks like he's in the rapids without a paddle. It's just a car crash to watch him every single time. I think he's got an amazing sprint on him, so maybe he should be on a track. But yeah, as a footballer, I just find he doesn't have that nous, that aggression, that bite. Maybe he needs a compass around the pitch. I'm not really sure. I just doesn't really fill anybody with confidence when he comes on. You kind of get the sort of drop of the shoulders from the fans when he comes on, because he's no way near what he needs to be to either replace Vardy or even be a sub for Vardy. And that's why we're still using Vardy so much, because the next best striker is no way near in the same league, ballpark, galaxy, whatever you want to call it, because he's just not at all what we expected him to be. And that 4 goals against whoever it was in Europe a few years ago was quite clearly just an anomaly. And we've not seen anything like that since. And even last year when we dropped a division, I thought he might come into his own a bit, but he didn't. He still looked out of sorts down there, and he was rattled by, I think, like Luke's just said, the Leeds performance in particular. I was absolutely raging after that performance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not. I would like to see him gone, but I don't think we'll get any money from him. But with Evans, again, I didn't see a hell of a lot, but that's the whole point with these games. You want to see a lot more of these guys. I'm with Manny. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're good enough, you're old enough, and just give them a go, you know. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him square it, and he just absolutely fluffed it, didn't he, and couldn't get the ball across. So yeah.
An absolute nightmare, Daka, didn't he? I think worse than that even for me was actually there was a moment where he was in the box and he just fell over with the Bambi shoes.
Yes.
And it's like, now look, that can happen in professional football, but you're talking about a May Day where the sun was out, it was a nice day, and that ground is going to be absolutely perfect. It's like one of those days you dream of playing football, because it wasn't even that hot yesterday either, was it? It was sort of like perfect for football. So just slipping there is just unfortunately the sign of someone who's got awful balance. And get this, if you're an elite footballer, it is helpful if you can stand on both feet. So again, the fast twitch fibers expert, Patson Daka, and maybe a question for the panel then, because if we're saying that he's not going to be here next season and we prefer to move him on, I mean, we literally therefore have no strikers unless we're going to come back to Jordan Ayew, who maybe we should touch on a little bit. But yeah, Manny, talk to me then about Patson Daka, the forward situation, maybe anything about Jake Evans, if anything impressed you about him.
Patson Daka, head down sprinter, no awareness, poor first touch, no strength, no real cuteness or intuition as football. It just strikes me as, somebody's just sort of done some basic maths and thought, do you know what, Vardy's getting old, he's a counter-attack striker, we like to hit long balls to him, let's find someone who can run in a straight line quite quickly and then kick the ball at the end of it. And that, to be fair, he might be able to do, but I also think it's a bit of a myth that he's quick. I've never seen extreme speed from him once. Like, you can talk about that Moscow game, but you're playing, it's like 0 degrees and you're playing against statues. I've never seen extreme speed. Vardy, I've seen extreme speed so many of his goals over the years. I've not seen that. He doesn't have any of the instinctiveness. You saw Vardy for his goal yesterday, how he peeled away from the centre-back, but then he stopped. He stopped because he saw the centre-back carry on retreating because he knows how to find space in the box. You know, I've seen crosses coming in from the right in particular, and you think this is a classic near-post run for the striker, and Daka's standing still. He's never going to be the answer for us. You know, I'm the biggest protagonist for fast twitch fibres, and a lot of people out there in the chat might think, oh, I should love Patson Daka, right? He's quick. That's not what fast twitch fibres is. It's not just ultimate speed. He's not looking for a sprinter. You have to be able to perform at high speed. So that means your balance, like Anil said, has to be good. Your touch has to be good. Your awareness, your passing, ideally all of these things. His shooting actually isn't too bad when it's fairly instinctive, but having said that, I've seen him duff one, airball shot. I think it was against Brighton where he completely missed the ball in the box.
Shoot. He cannot shoot. He cannot shoot. He can score tap-ins. I'm not having a bar of it, Manny. I love you, brother, but he cannot shoot.
Chelsea, last time we went down, I think against Chelsea game, I think he scored a brilliant finish goal. So he does do it occasionally. And I'm sure...
Once.
Yeah, all right. But okay, I'll ask you guys, I mean, considering the gap in the leagues, how many, let's say Daka does stay, because I think the bottom line is he's got a year left on his contract, so I'll be surprised if somebody actually offers us, even 8-10 million for him. I'd be surprised. They'd probably just wait it out, wait for he's on a free, and then try and get him then. And we have, last time we went down, we had 3 or 4 strikers. We've got 1 at the moment. Well, I suppose you could count Jordan Ayew potentially as a second. How many goals do you think Patson Daka would get in the Championship next year?
I'll give you my answer quick because I've been on a record, but admittedly, when I see yesterday, it does paint this statement in bad light. I've said that I think he could probably get around 15 goals, and I said that because the last time we were in the Championship, I think he got 8, and then he had 9 in all competitions. He didn't have that many starts, but the problem is that I actually thought the last time we went down that Kelechi Iheanacho would be the one that might have a Mitrovic-style season, and he ended up being rather disappointing. And I think the problem is that you're playing in, all the teams are going to have a deep block, and that doesn't really suit Daka. Like, he is basically only good when he can run in behind and just hit it as hard as he can, sort of thing. And even then, he's not that great. I mean, yesterday he got in behind and he couldn't square the ball. So probably somewhere between 10 and 15, but I'll pass it to the rest of the panel. But it's interesting to note that this season in the Championship was quite unusual. The top scorer was Joel Pirot. He only got 19. So in a 46-game season, no one got to 20 goals this season. The second top scorer was Borja Sainz for Norwich. I think he got 18, and he's a left winger. So it's really a changing division. So yeah, everyone, give me your thoughts on the striker position. I'll come to you, Kate, and also maybe did the fans in the ground notice Jamie Vardy blow the whistle, by the way, or did you only catch that when you got back? What a legend!
Yeah. I didn't see it. I heard the whistle go, and I thought, as the ref just blew the whistle while he's feigning injury at the same time, like he's managed to blow the whistle, and then someone said that they'd seen that Jamie had blew the whistle, which was just brilliant, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and what about the striker situation, Kate? Then what are we going to do about that?
God, that's the question that we've tried to answer for the last decade, and we've not been able to do it. We've got to go out and buy somebody. I would prefer to see Jordan Ayew there than Daka.
Yeah.
Jordan might come into his own a bit next season. He can show signs of stuff, but it's just brilliant. There were so many funny comments on Twitter about that. Like, how can Leicester find this funny? Well, I don't think the whole of Leicester would have been looking at that Twitter clip. But yeah, how can you not find that funny, man? Where's the character gone in football? But yeah, the striker situation is bleak. I don't want to see Patson Daka on the pitch because it's tried and tested, and I think it's time to buy somebody new. I think it's time to put Ayew in that position potentially, and I think there must be someone in the academy that we can bring through.
Luke, go on. You give me about the striker situation.
Your biggest argument and defense for Daka, if you remember last season, because I haven't forgotten, was that his pace was really good because Enzo had all of his strikers dropping really deep. But the problem with that is because of the way we've played this season under Ruud and both Cooper, that both our wingers have been either Ayew or Bobby Dakova-Reid, so the wingers are not fast as well. So if you've got a striker dropping deep that can bring a defending with us, not playing deep block, and that gives the chance in transition for both wingers to then accelerate, and then you know what I mean? It can pull people apart, but I can't see us obviously doing that next season. So there's different, there's merit in either Daka or I. The problem is Daka's all pace, but he's completely got no football brain. He's got a stiff breeze, like I said, would knock him over. He can't shoot for absolute donkeys. I'd rather have me up at top for the boys in blue, but I still don't want to see I up top either, to be honest with you. I think he should be finishing games out or hopefully moved on. I think we need to bring in someone new and young and develop them. I don't want to see either of those two up top next season. I really don't. I could be a piece of Ayew if he was up top. I know he just scored a goal, but it's all just calmed down a little bit. But Daka, like I mentioned, he offers nothing to me, particularly under the Ruben Nistelrooy system, if he's going to be here next season.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Well, someone that came up here, I just want to ask Manny's opinion because he was disagreeing with this furiously. So this is Josh Sargent from Norwich, the USA striker. 15 goals from 28 appearances. He's also a pressing machine. He does, I mean, you got to be careful of what you can get for. I think he's about 25 years old. Not for you, I'm taking it. But I don't know, I personally think if you could get him 15 million, wouldn't be bad. What do you think?
Dodge this bullet. Absolutely not. 25, 26, 15 in the championship, not really igniting the championship up to help Norwich get into even the playoffs. This is not a player that's therefore going to go into the Premier League and get 10 to 15. It's not going to happen. He's not very quick. He's also going to end up being 27, 28. So if you get that signing wrong, you'll end up having him on your books till he's 30, 31, paying him too much money. We've been down this road before. Avoid these things. Anybody over 25, we are not signing. We have to sign. Everybody has to be under 24. Ideally in the range 17 to 23. That is your optimum range. Even if you get those players wrong, there's always the chance someone else is going to take a gamble on that player because they've got so many years to go. If you get a signing wrong at 25, 26, you're done. You're stuck with him on your books for years and years. You cannot shift that player. So don't even look at this guy. I don't care what he's doing today. If he hasn't excited you by the age of 24, my contention is he's never going to excite you. Avoid.
Bang on. He's 25, right? I've got it up here now. He's 25 and he's been at Norwich since 2021. He's at 121 appearances and 46 goals. And like you just mentioned, Manny, he's 25. So this is his ceiling right now, the championship, and it's not the most prolific numbers either. So I spot on agree with Manny.
Do you remember Ayoze Perez, right? No, it was Premier League, but he had a really good season for Newcastle, top scorer. He was 25, 26. We signed him for a lot of money. It didn't quite work out. What happened? We couldn't shift him off our books. We were paying him too high salary. We spent a fortune. These are transfer mistakes. Avoid.
We also played him out of position, but yes.
I was going to say that Perez, since he's gone back to Spain, he's actually got, Ayoze Perez this season, 15 goals from 21 games. Yeah, wow. He fought his way back into the Spanish team, but you know what? Because they're playing him as a striker, not as a friggin' weirdo right winger that isn't positioned. Don't know what Brendan was thinking there that season. All right, another comment I want to bring up then. So obviously now I'm casting my mind forward to the championship, and I think the thing about yesterday's game is that I was actually looking forward to it. One, because I thought it would be a close encounter, and obviously maybe something we could get a result from. But more importantly, because it was going to be an eye into the future. Even though we expect both teams to change quite a lot, that is literally a championship match in the Premier League, masquerading as a Premier League match. So I want to bring up this comment from Greg, because I really agree with this. And Kate, you mentioned this at the top of the show. But how can the Saints look so much worse than us? A genuine question, how you can be that much worse than the worst Leicester side I've seen in over a decade. And that was my kind of feeling too, because, you'd have thought, like I said, that they were tied for the worst points record. This is the best possible chance they've got to do it. You look at their squad and it's mainly young players. I think Ryan Manning is their one experienced pro, or maybe Carl Walker-Peters as well. But it's quite a lot of youthful talent there. But they were making, awful. I mean, I know you love the most dangerous pass in football, Kate. They were making it quite a lot yesterday. And yeah, they were awful. I was just really, so I want to, cast even more shade on them. I'm sure their fans they've had an even worse time than us, but you would have thought that, like, with the young players, it might be like, okay, they're definitely going to go down, but by the end they might start getting some momentum. But I mean, to be outplayed by an absolute doggo Leicester team takes quite some doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was quite interesting yesterday, because I thought before we scored, Southampton were just edging it. I think when we scored, it killed it, and they just went back into their old whatever's got them into trouble, like these methods that have got them into where they are. But after that, after we scored, they did just relax into their robotic playing round the back, afraid to go forward. Does this remind you of anybody? Like an exaggerated version of Leicester and their fans, because they were in full voice. I do just want to say that Southampton fans, those that travelled, fair play to you, because that is a long way to come to see your team probably not win in a dead rubber match and what has been a miserable season for both of us. But there was a point where they had the ball in our penalty box, and 2 or 3 passes later, it was back with their back line, and the fans were booing. They were booing. It's like, well, you're 2-0 down, just go for it. So I feel like we're in the same kind of boat, that you've lost everything. You've lost your place in the Premier League. So just try and have a go. But I just think amongst those 22 players on the pitch yesterday, there is a small handful that know what giving a go looks like. Like, no, sorry, I get to the halfway line, I backtrack. Like, they are so robotic and almost institutionalized in this weird way of playing that doesn't suit their teams, because they're both holding up the rest of the league. It was quite funny to see. So yeah, they were an exaggerated version of us. I think we've got bits of quality. They didn't have a Bilal, for example. I think Walker Peters is still a good player. I wouldn't mind if we went in for him particularly. But overall, they were just a really poor outfit that had no direction, and they were rudderless. And that's really reminded me of us this season as well.
Yeah, Russell Martin brainwashed them is what they're saying. It's funny how with them, Tyler Dibbling, he came on, but he's quite disappointing, I thought. He was having a couple of duels against Bilal, and Bilal actually made him look quite poor. But maybe he's got injuries and stuff like that. But he was a player that's been hyped up a lot. I was expecting better things from him. But yeah, what do you think that means for us next season in the Championship? Or is that just a team that, they may not even be in the mix? What do you think, Manny, about them? A lot of people are even saying that Birmingham, by the way, they had an EFL record. They finished the season with 111 points. That will happen when you buy a £15 million striker in League One, by the way. But they probably will spend big. They've got the Tom Brady money and things like that. And, their underlying metrics are actually better even than Ipswich's the season that they came up with us. So, next season, who are going to be the main competitors to go up, and what are your initial thoughts on the next season?
If I pretend for a moment that I was a Southampton fan and look at things like I do at Leicester, but at Southampton, and I've got it up here. Taylor Harwood-Bellis, this is euros, so apologies, 23 million euros. Aaron Ramsdale, 21 million euros. Flynn Downs, 18 million euros. Cameron Archer, 18 million euros. Matthias Fernandes, 15 million euros. And it goes on with Brereton, Diaz and others. These people have actually spent the kind of money that we would have loved to have spent, but they bought a lot of rubbish, a lot of it, and now they are going to be stuck with, again, you asked me yesterday about Harwood-Bellis, and overhyped, overrated, not great, and you're going to end up paying these guys pretty decent money too. So I can see them going to a situation where they're going to have players that they cannot shift off their books, their budgets will be tight. And remember last time, I think, did they finish, was it 6th or 5th or 6th in the playoffs?
No, 4th in the end.
4th, sorry. Apologies.
Yeah.
It all depends on how the other competition are. Ipswich should be up there next season. They bought a bit better than Southampton have. We should be up there for sure. And then it's about which one of these other Championship teams. I've got this weird feeling that someone like Birmingham or Wrexham are going to be, are going to do another Ipswich and be up there or thereabouts. I'd be very worried about Southampton is that if they don't come up next season, then they could be the very next Sunderland and be stuck there for the next decade.
Yeah, I think Wrexham's an interesting one, but I will say compared to Birmingham that their manager is Phil Parkinson, and they play more of a sort of, shall we say, League One style of football, if you know what I mean.
5-1-1, it's weird. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, what I mean by that is that, I think the reason why I think Birmingham could be good is that they've got Chris Davies as manager. He was Brendan's assistant when he was here at Leicester, by the way. So he's now taken the main job. Yeah. I don't know if you got that or not. And,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They don't necessarily spank teams, but they do control the game. And I think they're better against the sort of deep blocks, and I think they'll get the investment. Whereas I think Phil Parkinson, I can see that he'll be the sort of one who will get results, but I don't think will be as consistent. You never know that, of course. Ultimately, it comes down to who spends what. And if Ryan Reynolds says, right, let's get the cash out, let's buy 3 Premier League players for the Championship, then all of a sudden, anyone could do it. But Yeah, give me your thoughts on that. I'm just going to bring up what the championship table is because I think it's interesting to see that. Go on, Manny.
I'll defer to Luke, but I just wanted to say that I think Ipswich, when they got promoted last season, the team that got them promoted, they'd spent like £9 million in total on. Like, that was the entire cost of the whole team. So Wrexham have got £9 million. So
yeah, absolutely.
In theory, it's that momentum. I think Nigel Adkins did it with Southampton quite a few years ago. That they went back to back promoted. So these guys have gone back to back to back to back. The momentum is off the charts. The spotlight will be massively on them. I think they'll be able to attract a few players that normally wouldn't want to go to Wrexham because they like all the Hollywood, showbiz factor that's going in. I think definitely Wrexham could be in the mix, but Birmingham are more serious contenders. You're right about that. They have infrastructure, they have money, they have a history of actually a decent, really good catchment area for youth players too in Birmingham. So I think that is a sleeping giant, and someone like Tom Brady in charge worries me. This guy knows how to win. This guy will not stop until he finds the right way to win. And he's so shrewd an individual that I think they're building something special at Birmingham that I would expect them to go up the next 3 years.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a minute, Luke. Just before we do, just show you the table here. So here's how it ended. Crazy. 2 teams ended on 100 points. Never been done before. And a 10-point gap to third place. So this time it was Sheffield United who had 90 points, and that wasn't enough. You can just see how even in the championship, though, there's like a huge gap. And there's like divisions within divisions. So top 6 here, then you've got Sheffield United, Sunderland, Coventry City with Lampard, and Bristol City snuck in. They've done well. You can see Blackburn. I mean, they could have gone down if we beat them last year, by the way. But what a recovery they've made. Incredible. Millwall, bit of a resurgence as well, you can see. Teams maybe that surprise you. Norwich, surprised they did so bad given where they are. You can see who's ended up going down is Luton. Now, that's obviously the scary thought if you're a Leicester fan, right? Is that you talk about going back to back up, but you don't want to go back to back down. So, yeah, Luke, what do you think about next season? Who we've got to keep an eye out on in looking at this table?
I think Ipswich, because Ipswich went out and bought basically the who's who of the championship last season. They bought Schmodics, they bought, they made some really good signings that were championship, top tier. So, and I still think they're going to have the same, obviously, manager. They've had that momentum of going, back-to-back promotion. They haven't done themselves, absolutely dirty where they should, hang them head in shame. No one expected them to stay up. I think they've got nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about. I still think they're going to be, I would put them to finish top next season, in my opinion, if they can build upon what they've been. Yeah, I know. I'm calling it now. I genuinely believe that, Manny. You can clip it. I don't think Leicester are going to be anywhere near as dominant as people make us out to be, although I hope they are. Sunderland, if they don't come up through the playoffs, are going to be one to watch, in my opinion. Wrexham, I think they've got a rude awakening. I really like the program. I really like what they're doing. A lot of people hate it and don't like what they stand for. If you actually watch that program, they make everyone feel involved. They make it feel like a family club. They'll have a whole episode on a janitor, a girl with autism. I think it's a brilliant program, so I've got nothing against it. But when you're talking money, the money that Ryan Reynolds have and also Rob McElhenney compared to Top is night and day. They're not as rich as everyone. They're not rich. Like, they're obviously millionaires and they're, American Hollywood actors. But, mate, the money that they would need and the gambling they'd have to do to put their own money into the club to make it Premier League is apples and oranges. And I don't think they're going to even make the playoffs next season. I think they're going to be on the beach. That's my prediction. Whereas Birmingham, I agree, they have a lot of momentum. They've absolutely just pissed that league. They're going to come up feeling confident. It's all about what they do with the money. Manny, you mentioned, Tom, whatever his name is, the quarterback that's involved, Tom Brady, that he knows how to win. But just we all know that just throwing money at something doesn't obviously translate into success.
What do you think, Kate? What are you most looking forward to seeing next season? Return of the Derby?
Oh, God, I don't know. Obviously, Wrexham. I think Wrexham will just be one to watch because of the spotlight that they've put themselves into. Coming up in the playoffs could be the O's as well. The Orients could come up in the playoffs, which could be quite interesting. I think they've got such a checkered history, a bit like Leicester. I think they could really turn some heads if they get promoted, to be honest. But yeah, Coventry look good. I think Coventry Sunderland might be in the playoff final. So the loser of that team, I think, will be challenging as well, because Sunderland have paid their dues, you could say. They've done the double drop. Some of the programme, I don't know if you've ever watched the Sunderland Till I Die programme, but some of that is heartbreaking from a football fan's perspective. It's just to watch what they've gone through. So they've got some determination and some grit in their fan base as well, which really helps. I think Sheffield Wednesday, if they keep hold of Danny Rowley, I mean, there's all rumours that he might go, but he's not yet. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday, I've got a colleague who's a Sheffield Wednesday season ticket holder, and from going from the doldrums of just avoiding relegation last season, this has been a pretty successful year for them, despite having quite a troublesome chairman. So there's going to be a big mix of stuff. I didn't think that we would do so well as we did last year when we got relegated with Brendan. I didn't think we'd do as well as we did. So it's all about recruitment, and it's all about whether your existing players are up for the fight, really. It's a scary thought to think of us getting straight back up, because that fills me with dread, because it could be another miserable season in the Premier League if that happens. But I'm sorry, yeah, it's a semi-final already. So yeah, I don't know what could happen next year. It's going to be tasty. I think it'd be way more interesting than this year.
It will be. I do remember a comment Manny made yesterday. Goes, I'm not really interested in seeing sort of us play average teams every week. And then I think Luke was saying, oh, the thing is, though, is you're not really about the team that you're playing against, but it's the pressure that every week you've just got to keep winning. It doesn't matter if you're playing,
Yeah, they come thick and fast, don't they? But I would just say on this point, like, that's the whole problem that we have. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, they're going to be into the new rules, aren't they, now that they come into the Championship from League One? I think the FFP PSR rules change a bit where as you come into the Championship. They can't put loads of money in. We can't put loads of money in. Top has really deep pockets, but he's not allowed to put his hand in them. That's the problem that these millionaires now face, in that they're not allowed to bankroll their own club anymore, which is absolute madness in my opinion. But it makes it a level playing field, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think sponsorship deals still can come into it. So I think that's where they might have an edge. Like, if they say, well, look, we've got the biggest sports show on Netflix, and so we've been sponsored by Apple now for 120 million. So yes, we will sign, all these Premier League players. Maybe something like that will happen. We'll have to see. But look, everyone, thank you for joining. We'll leave it there. It has been a good morning. We've still got the bank holiday weekend, so I'll leave you to it. Thank you to the panel. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Luke. Thank you to everyone in chat. This has been Blue Tinted Glasses, and we'll see you tomorrow for the call-in show. See you later. Bye-bye. Cheers, guys. Thank you.